Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Peter Sesele. In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you about my story, in terms of how I got my scholarship to come to Canada, how I got my supervisor, how I applied for my visa, and then how I settled down upon my first week of arrival in Canada. This is probably going to be the most important of my video that you're going to watch. I've done something similar to this in one of my, first videos that I did in my channel, but this is just an updated version of it and like a full story. And for those that are new to my channel, this is definitely the story that you want to watch if you really want to know more about me. Okay, let's get started. So I actually did my Bachelor's of Science degree in biochemistry in Nigeria at Ambrose University, and actually got a first class. I finished in 2014, and then finished with the first class. All my intention was, everything is just going to work like that, even without me pushing any button or making any serious steps and all that. But fortunately, things didn't turn out the way I expected. I was totally expected to. I was thinking I was going to get like a lecturer, graduate assistant position, and then from there work my way into lecturer position. But unfortunately, I waited and I didn't get anything from the department. Then after that, I went for my NYSC, the National Youth Service Corps, and then that was from 2015 to 2017. And during this time, this was really when I started developing interest in doing my my master's abroad. I actually tried applying for a couple of jobs in Nigeria. In fact, I applied for a bank job at once. I applied for some other companies, KPMG, Deloitte, some pharma company. I did some aptitude tests, but fortunately it didn't come turn out successful. So one day I just sat and I was like, what am I doing, right? What am I doing with this? I have this good grade. Why don't I find something to do with my life, and look for a place where my degree will be valued? Because obviously, for those of you that come from African countries, that some of these companies, they don't really care about if you have a first class degree, or that is not really priority to them. They are mostly just concerned about experience. So 2015, 2016, I really started thinking about I want to do my master's abroad, and then the first point of call was United Kingdom. I applied for the Chevening scholarship, I applied for the Commonwealth scholarship. I didn't get any of them. I was so shocked when the results came out, because I thought, oh, I had the first class, I'm going to get it at least Chevening or Commonwealth scholarship. I didn't get any. I started applying for some other schools in the UK, and then I got maybe I applied to close to 15 schools in the UK, if and I got admission almost all of the universities, Manchester, Wales, and all of these big universities in the UK. And I only got an entrance scholarship and like half tuition scholarship. And then for me to pay like the other half tuition, about maybe £6,500 or so, was still like something big for me. There is no way I could have raised that money at that particular point in time. And then from there I moved to look into Germany. I applied to about 2 schools in Germany. The admission came out, but there was really no scholarship on that. And I tried Geneva, University of Geneva in Switzerland. I applied, and unfortunately things didn't turn out as expected. And then I decided to try the US. Okay, so I had a friend that knew about the Education USA in the United States Embassy in Lagos. So I actually went there. I went for their seminar, and then there was this nice seminar. They talked about how to get scholarship and funding from different universities in the UK, how you can package your admission and your references and air all of those things, and then you have to write these TOEFL exams and GRE, as the case may be. So I was actually making plans to go and write all of these exams in order to kind of position me to really pursue this United States dream. And then I met a friend who actually was, at that point, we actually graduated together, and he was, currently he was pursuing Canada, so he got to explain to me that in Canada, I don't really need to write the IELTS exam. I said, oh, that's fantastic. I don't need to write GRE. I don't need to write the TOEFL exam. I was like, okay, those are fantastic. So how does it work? He mentioned to me, you know, for research programs, you need to get a supervisor. And then when you get a supervisor for research programs, mostly it's going to come with a scholarship, because those professors are not going to accept you until you get a scholarship, right? They're not going to give you admission till you find a scholarship. And before they can accept you, they always have funding available, okay? And then throughout my NYSC, you know, 2015 to 2016, I was still in search of this whole Canada thing, you know, tried to, you know, send emails. I think I sent about maybe nothing less than 50 emails to, you know, different professors in Canada, you know. Most of them not necessarily because my email was not good enough, and then not necessarily because my grade was not good enough. But initially, when I started sending those emails, it was really because it wasn't really good enough, you know, because I didn't show anybody, you know. But later on, my friends started coaching me on how to write this email, and then at least I started getting response from some professors, and then they would just tell me, you know, sorry, no space available in the lab, and then, you know, but I did not give up, right? That's actually one of the things that I wanted to mention in this video, the power of persistence. You know, if you really want to get this done, you have to push. You have to push and push and push and push. If you are waiting for somebody to do the push for you, I'm so sorry. You know, it might be difficult to scale through. You have to push yourself. And then after about a year of search, and then I finished my NYSC, you know, I went back to Lagos, and then, you know, I was in Lagos for about, let's say, from October till about February of 2017, and then nothing. You know, at some point I felt like quitting, but I was like, no, let me keep pushing. And then in March of 2017, on the 7th of March precisely, you know, I was just scrolling through Memorial University. Actually, that was one of my favorite university. I just loved. I wanted to do a research in nutrition biochemistry, and Memorial University was just on the top of my radar. So every time I would go in there to see what are these in fact, there is no lecturer in that department that I did not email. You know, there is no lecturer that I did not know, you know, their research work and every other thing that they are doing, because I kept checking. And then one day I saw an advert, you know, on one of the professors' website, that they are looking for a student, you know, and that the student must have a first class, you know, CGPA of 3.5 out of 4.0, which is kind of equivalent to 4.5 out of 5.0 CGPA, and that the person should be ready to engage in community activities. I'm like, oh, that's me. Actually, I called the professor directly, you know, just to create that connection. When I called him, I just said, oh, I saw this advert on your website, and it talked about a student with a first class degree, and then with someone that's really ready to engage in community activities. And I'm like, is that all? Are there any other requirements that any other thing that are needed in the application? He said no. Then he said, send me an email. So in the following day, I'm going to do a follow-up video just to kind of explain about email, and probably share a sample of my email that I sent to the man. And then I mentioned some things, and I told him I already called you, and you've asked me to send this email. And then that was now on the 8th of March 2017. I emailed the man, and then he responded, you know, okay, I think you're a good fit. Let's set a time to meet on Skype. And then after about a week, he messaged me and told me, you know what, this particular funding that I was looking for has been allocated to another professor in the department. And he said, well, I think you're a good fit. You know, this professor might also like you. So he actually sent my documents to that professor in the same department. And, you know, because he was like, there's no need for that professor to really start looking for a student when there's already somebody that he was communicating with. And shockingly for me, this professor emailed me, that should be on the, probably on the 10th about 10th or 11th of March, something like that. This professor sent me your transcript and everything. I would really love to meet you. This is this project that is available. It is full funding. It covers cost of living. This is a project title. And she was asking me, are you interested? I was like, are you really asking me? I didn't say that, okay, I'm just joking. In my mind, I was like, are you really asking me if I am interested? This is something I've been looking at for about a year now, and then you come in and asking me. I was like, even though it's a research on the study of erosion, I would have actually said yes, I'm coming, because I just actually wanted to leave, right? But good enough, this was like a very great research area. I did biochemistry. This research was in biochemistry, in lipid biochemistry, perfect fit for me. And then the woman, the professor, requested I would meet via Skype. Skype used to be the reigning thing at that time before this, it was during this COVID that, Zoom really, became the reigning thing. But then Skype was the main thing. And then on the day that the professor was to call me, I had to look for, a very good spot in the place where I was working then. Just like a warehouse. I set up the table and then arranged my, kind of dress a little, not corporate, just like a business casual dress. And then we did the interview, and then she asked a couple of questions, and I think the selling point for me, because I did not actually have any publication, no publication at that point in time. Apart from my undergraduate research project, I didn't have any other research experience, right? So what really stood out for, or what really made me to stand out was, in all of the courses that she was interested. For example, lipid biochemistry, I probably had 80 something in that course. And then in another course, molecular biochemistry, because she do a lot of molecular work in her lab, also got maybe 87 or something in that course. So all of the related biochemistry, my fourth year, almost all of them were A's, right? Apart from maybe one or two that were B's. So she was really interested that, okay, I just told her, well, I have this theoretical knowledge of some of these things. I don't really have a lot of, practical experiences, but I'm someone that can learn very fast. And she said, okay, I will accept you. And then, okay, start putting your documents together for admission. So this was now somewhere around 16th of March or something like that. And then I put everything together, sharp, and then I actually now submitted application on 17th of March 2017. So initially she said, okay, I want you to start in September. So I applied. In fact, by then the deadline for September admission actually just passed, maybe about two weeks prior to that time. She said, don't worry, just submit an application for September. I submitted an application for September, and then about a week into the application, she called me like, you know what, I think I want you to come a little bit earlier. I wanted to start in May. I was like, this is very exciting. But after I read the email, I was like, this is April, and you're saying I need to resume in May. This is not possible. But let's see how things go, right? And then the admission came out on the 11th of April. And the school was actually going to resume on the 8th of May. I spoke with some friends and kind of asked them, how will I kind of go about this whole application? Some said, this is like a suicide mission. You don't even bother applying. Just tell her to defer it to September. There is no way that you're going to get this visa approved, in next month and come to Canada. It's not possible. I said, okay. I actually let her, I had a conversation with her through email, and then luckily for me, she had a student in her lab who was in Nigeria doing PhD in the lab. And then he also kind of, spoke to the professor that this is how it is, though, it takes some time when applying from Nigeria. Now, she wrote, I wasn't even expecting it. Probably that's one of the best gifts I received from her. She actually wrote another letter for me. I haven't really seen that. I've been here for about 4 years now. I haven't seen that additional, letter that a professor writes for a student to support visa application, apart from the admission letter. So she wrote that letter for me, and it was clearly explained, very detailed. She was just praising me and saying, this student is, he is the best person for this position. His lab position place is already set. And he even said, even though I resume ending of May, she's very fine with it. She has already discussed with the department and the School of Graduate Studies that one of our students might be arriving late, so it should not be a problem. She sent me that letter, signed it, and then sent it to me that was now about 11th, between 11th to 15th, before we put everything together. And then I was now able to successfully apply for my visa on the 27th of April, and then I was, praying, of course, and then hoping God will intervene in that situation, because it's really going to take a miracle. Because in fact, I actually got my passport that month. So tell you, zero travel history, right? And I think maybe in my account, I had maybe about 50,000 naira in my account at that time. I was working, but I wasn't really earning, that much, right? So I didn't have a lot to show. So to my surprise, I was just at work on the 15th of May, maybe about 2 weeks plus, not even up to 3 weeks, right? 2 weeks and a few days. I got an email that passport request. I was asking my brother, what is the meaning of passport request? He was like, oh, it means your application has been approved. I was like, are you serious? He said, yes. That very day that we got that email, I had to rush back home to get my passport, and then we drove to Lekki that same day to drop the passport. And then, I think it took about 2 weeks or about 10 days or something for the passport to come back. The passport actually came back on May 25th, 2017. And then when I was coming back from Lekki, I actually branched in Lagos, in Ikeja, and then I booked my flight actually for like 2 days. I booked my flight for the next 2 days. Because that was the earliest that I could find, and it was quite expensive. But I booked my flight on the 25th of March, of May, and then I put myself together on the 26th, just dragged around, bought traveling bag, bought some few clothes, and then on the 27th, boom, I moved. Actually, that was, I'm not ashamed to say it. That was actually the first time I was actually entering the plane, right? And then it was an international flight, so that's a story for another day, right? Then I got to Toronto, and then by May 28th, I actually landed in St. John's, and then I came to the airport, and then actually during that time, my supervisor was still communicating with me, right? Oh, how is it going? And do you have somebody to pick you up? If you don't have somebody, she actually offered to come pick me up at the airport, right? If there is nobody to pick me up. And then, as God will have it, one of the students she had a postdoc at that time, and the postdoc actually offered to landed in St. John's 2 a.m. He actually came around 2 a.m. to the airport, to pick me. And then, good enough, I've already booked my accommodation with the university at that point in time, so I didn't have to pay anything. It just became part of my tuition, right? I signed up for it, and then I actually had a slot, but I was going to start paying when I start getting my stipend, right? So I moved in there on the 28th, at night. That was actually on a Saturday night. I wouldn't forget that, and then I moved there. I go to my room, and one of the first things I said is, this is really Canada. It was night, so, it was maybe around 4 degrees. So I was like, let me just wait till the following day and then see what happens, And then the following day, it was bright, and then I went out just the street, facing the hostel. I was just walking, and one of the things I was saying, God, thank you. I don't deserve it. I don't deserve this. It is your grace that have just brought me here. Look at me. That about 2 months ago, I had no hope. I actually had no hope and had no idea of what the next, the next phase of my life is going to be like. And then, look at me now, 2 months after that, not having a supervisor. 2 months after that, I'm now in Canada. I just gave glory to God and said, this can only be you. I just want to use this to encourage somebody. If you've been making all the effort and trying hard as you can, it seems that things are not working. As you're trying your best, just pray, pray for God to favor you, because just that one more email that you need to send might be what is going to give you that position. Just one more try. So don't give up, okay? Keep trying, So that's one of the motivation why I do some of these YouTube videos, to encourage you, so that you won't give up. You can keep pushing and pushing. I tell you, when you come here, all the efforts that you put in is worth it. It's worth it. I will tell you. So that's actually how my story and my experiences have been, and then it's been amazing. So I finished my master's in 2020 as God will have it, and then I started my PhD, and I'm going to share a little bit about that later on. So that is all for my story. If you have any specific question, you can leave a question in the comment section, and which part of my story really resonated with you, and which part of the story really excited you, kind of leave the comment leave a comment in the comment section. Let's engage. And if you really loved this video, do it to hit the like button, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel so that whenever